there was a gentleman that was visiting with his Aunt Mary one day, and they got into a little debate about firearms. This gentleman, John, and his Aunt Mary. Well, John, he's supportive of firearms. He believes that we have the right to use them. They're useful tools, and there's a lot of value in them. Well, his Aunt Mary deferred, and she disagreed, saying, "I think firearms should be banned. They kill people, and so many bad things happen that involve firearms." Well, John kind of thought to himself and looked at his Aunt Mary and said, "Well, Aunt Mary, if you say that, I'm going to let my gun sit out by our front door inside the house, and we'll let it sit there. I'll leave the door unlocked too, and we'll see if my gun will kill anybody." And Aunt Mary thinking, "Oh, you're just being a smart aleck, I was like, he's like, "Okay, whatever, go ahead and do it." It's like okay. So he put his gun out by his front door, leaved it there, unloaded, and of course, it's a smart thing to do. He left it unloaded on the door and went about and did his own thing. He went to the post office, went shopping, went picked his kids up from school, brought them back, and sure enough, lo and behold, he comes back and the gun's still sitting there, in the same exact place it did. And guess what? It didn't kill anybody. Well, sure enough, John, being all happy and feeling rewarding about it, called up his Aunt Mary and told Aunt Mary, "Well, I left it out there, and guess what? It didn't kill anybody." But if you still believe that guns don't kill people, well, frankly, I think I'm gonna have to get rid of my spoons, because I hear that spoons are making people fat. So, truth is, it's not a gun problem; it's a people problem. Now, this tool right here, this is a machete. Very useful tool. Many survivalists use it. People at home use it to clear away brush, trails. This one even has a little saw on it, so you saw away at a log or a little branch, or whatever you would like. It's a very handy tool. Well, if any of you remember the Rwanda genocide, it wasn't a huge public event. It wasn't put on the media very much, but it was a very traumatic historical event. Millions of people were killed, millions, over prejudice, hate, and those millions of people were killed with a machete. Now let me ask you, do you hear much about a machete argument? Because it's not a machete problem. It's a people problem. This is a tool. Just as this is not a gun problem, it's a people problem. Now, many of you in the crowd today, some of you maybe have had a bad experience with firearms. Perhaps a family member or a friend of yours was killed, or perhaps injured really bad, and it involved a firearm. Perhaps yourself, have been injured really bad because of an accident, or someone assaulted you that was using a firearm. And I feel your sympathy. I understand. I'm in no way insulting you whatsoever when it comes to that. But as far as your standing on firearms go, that is a decision that should not be made based strictly on emotions. It's important to look at the facts, the statistics, the actual purpose and the value that a firearm has in society. Now, I grew up with firearms since I was a young child. They taught me many different things. My father always taught me the safety and how to be responsible with it. And it didn't just teach me how to be safe with the firearm. It taught me how to be safe with other things too. That mindset of safety kind of grew on me. So I'm very familiar with how these things work, how to properly use them and operate them, and what purposes they serve in today's society. Now I want to touch on 3 things in particular that firearms prove their value for. And that's protection, that's hunting, and for sport. So I want to share a story with you real quick. I know we only have so much time here. So I want to share a story with you real quick, and I want to keep a thought in the back of your mind while we're having this discussion. So at the end here, I'll bring it up again one more time to you. And so let's say you're in your house, you've gone to sleep, you, your wife, your husband, your kids, brother, sister, whatever have you, you're in your house, you're sleeping, maybe you're by yourself. And all of a sudden, you hear clattering downstairs, like someone broke in, like a window shattered. And it's 1 o'clock in the morning. So of course you're cautious, you're vigilant. This is, unusual. Although in today's society, today's culture, something like this is more likely to happen to people. And you warn your husband, your wife, to stay safe and to stay there as you go downstairs to check. As you go down in the darkness, you see the silhouette of a person, and you notice that they're holding a gun. Be it a pistol, rifle, shotgun, they're holding a gun. They don't notice you quite yet, but you know your family is in danger. You know you're in danger. How do you protect yourself? What is the best alternative that you have to protect yourself? What tools are you making use of to best protect yourself? So please keep that thought in the back of your mind as we're having this discussion. So I want to touch on the first thing, that's protection. Firearms are an extremely useful tool for protection. The most common thing known today is the concealed carry license that is given out. Now you have to take a special class to have a concealed carry, which is very appropriate, which is very good. And you're taught how to properly use a pistol, what scenarios are best to use it, and all the safety procedures and responsible things you're supposed to know. Well, the most particular thing that self-concealed carry is used for is for crimes, and particularly assaults, and more specifically sexual assaults. Michael Snyder, in his article 18 Little Known Gun Facts, stated that over 200,000 women in the U.S. own a gun to use to protect themselves against sexual crimes. Now you think to yourself, that's a huge number, that's a big number. Now you think about how many guys actually own guns, because guys and guns, that's a big deal. Those two things go together, those two things go together really well. So I think there are thousands of guys that obviously own guns. What about them? What about the numbers for them? What are they using their guns for? Well, Michael Snyder also goes on to state that guns in the U.S. are used 80 times more often to prevent crime than to take a life. Now that's a huge number. It's a big gap, a huge proportion that shows you exactly what these guns are being used for, and to protect life more often so than it is to take a life. Again, not a gun problem, a people problem. Now you think of the dangers that everyone's owning these guns and everything. Of course you're going to ask, well, what about accidents? What about someone that's irresponsible using a gun? Well, okay, someone's irresponsible using a gun. That's no different than someone irresponsibly driving a vehicle. A very useful tool to take you from point A to point B. If you don't pay attention to the road, you're texting, you're drunk, you're irresponsible, not safe, you put yourself in harm's way and others in harm's way. That's a people problem, not a car problem. And you don't hear much about the debate between banning cars, because obviously people know it's a people problem. Same thing applies to firearms. You need to be responsible. You need to practice safety. It's a useful tool, and you need to be mindful of those things. And Gun Owners of America put out an article about the benefits of shooting sports, and they say that you are 31 times more likely to be injured in a car than by a gun. So again, you're looking at these huge numbers, big gap, between a gun and a common thing, such as a car. And so your safety with a firearm is much more likely than you driving a vehicle, which I'm sure everyone here drives a vehicle every day for the most part. Now the second thing I want to touch on is hunting. The origins of firearm came from hunting. The Chinese were the first ones to invent a gun. It's something to shoot a projectile, and it was used mainly for hunting, and it was also used for war. And of course that comes back to the protection thing, the matter of self-defense and going and defending, standing up for one's own beliefs, matters of safety and defense. But a gun was also designed to be used for hunting. And debate.org, they asked, are guns good to hunt for food? And 77% of all subscribers had said yes, they are very useful guns. Now you're like, okay, people also use bows, and many anti-gun activists will say bows are more of a natural way to go hunting with it, to go hunting for deer, elk, and bear. Well, PETA also has a strong belief in not even hunting at all and leaving it up to natural wildlife to take care of the hunting, because they think it's less torturous for the animals, and which is an ironic statement, because white-tailed deer here in Wisconsin are a significant number of them are wiped out by coyotes and wolves. And I'm pretty sure when those coyotes and wolves attack these deer, it's not an instant kill. I'm pretty sure they're tearing them away quite slowly, and they suffer a pretty painful death. Now, firearms ensure a quick, clean kill. It's a very efficient way of maintaining the deer population, and it has over the hundreds of years that hunting has been in. Deer populations have risen significantly and maintained in a healthy population, thanks to our wildlife state refuges and our departments. And so guns ensure a quick, clean kill, as opposed to the natural way of things with these wolves and coyotes brutally killing these animals. So it's an ironic statement for PETA and other groups alike to say that natural ways are more less torturous and brutal for this wildlife. It's firearms with hunting is also a very community-oriented activity. A lot of family are involved, and there's a lot of value teached there. There's especially the value of safety and responsibility, two huge factors that everyone should know throughout their lifetime for everything. It teaches critical thinking skills. It helps you to be more detail-oriented in what you're doing, be mindful and aware of your surroundings and how to go about with everything you do in a safe and responsible way. Excuse me, what better way to do that than with a firearm? For example, there's simple things such as your safety. You're taught about your safety, always keeping it unsafe until ready to use at that point of kill. Or during sport, when you're at a point of shooting at a target. You're taught how to properly unload the gun, how to properly unload and load it. You're taught where to point your muzzle, always in a safe direction. Just little things like that. Teaching safety is no different than when you're teaching safety of driving a car, being mindful of your surroundings, looking at the mirror, checking your blind side, things of that nature that keep you out of harm's way, because you're given this useful tool, and if used improperly, you'll cause damage. So the third thing I want to touch on is sport. Shooting sports is a huge factor in the world. Many people do it, thousands of people do it, and it teaches a lot of different values and responsibilities. There is one thing in particular that some anti-gun activists will bring up, and this is ironically from a military individual, Joshua Holland, in his article, Tactical Experts Destroy NRA's Heroic Gunslinger Fantasy. He states that this military figure said, despite what we see on TV, the presence of a firearm is a greater risk, especially in the hands of an untrained person. So this military person is recognizing that all these guns out there, he sees this risk. But the fact that it's with these untrained people is posing a danger to others because they don't know how to properly use it. Again, we're going back to this matters of you're responsible for knowing the safety, procedures of handling a firearm. Perhaps the government should require everyone to have a firearm safety class before even purchasing a gun, because now it's strictly just an age limit. If you're 18, 21, and you don't have a criminal background, you can simply go and buy a rifle. Perhaps that shouldn't be the case. As a matter of fact, I feel more strongly believe that there should be a training session for everyone. More, just as you should have to earn a license to drive a vehicle, you should probably earn a license to own a firearm, so you know those safety things, so you know how to properly use it. But shooting sports is a very big deal, very big. You're out target practicing. You're with family, you're with friends. There's a lot of good memories that are built there. A lot of things to be taught. A lot of educational moments, and then this article by the Gun Owners of America. Benefits of the shooting sports. They state that it trains physical discipline, mental discipline, and that shooting sports, some of the most popular events in the Olympics. There are some of the most popular events in the Olympics. 17 Olympic events in 4 Olympic disciplines. That's rifle, pistol, shotgun, and running target. Were held in the 2000 Olympic Games in Sydney. So of course, this is something that's nationally recognized. That we're going and we're watching. And it's competitive. It's a competitive sport. So there's a lot of value there, as we know, in sport and competition. So again, and it's about being safety. So there's no problem as far as that goes. It's not a gun problem. If there is a problem, it's a people problem. Not a gun problem, a people problem. So I'd like to go out with a bang here. And as you can see, with everything we talked about, the values in a firearm, the comparisons with other useful tools that we are given in this lifetime, and knowing how to safely use them. It's not a machete problem. It's not a gun problem. It's a people problem. It's about educating those that have to use them, and it's something we need to recognize, and many people today are failing to do that, and I hope you guys can recognize that. It's about looking at the statistics, knowing its actual purpose, and not to base your decisions strictly on emotions. So going back to the story where you're downstairs, it's dark, and you see the silhouette of the man with the shotgun. What is it that you are going to do? What is the best alternative you have to protect yourself, protect your family? Will you utilize the firearm to protect yourself, or will you not? It's all up to you. Thank you.